Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today I'm excited to be unboxing Darkest Night, the second edition. This is a game created by Jeremy Lennert and is going to be published, and it is published by Victory Point Games. This game is available and is out there already, so if you're interested in this or you find this unboxing interesting and want to know more about it, you'll be able to find many different resources in order to take a look into this game. But I wanted to let you guys know that I am going to be covering this on the channel in a showcase, so that's extremely exciting. I'm going to be basically taking you through not only this unboxing video, which is the purpose of this one, but we'll also go through a solo setup video to show you how to get to the table. Then we're going to do a rules overview video, which will show you the general overall rules of the game. And then we'll get to the nitty-gritty rules when we go through the actual playthrough, and that's going to be quite an experience. It's going to allow you guys to actually jump in and also give your opinions on what we should do next. It's going to allow us to go through the nuances of the rules if there's anything that basically comes up through gameplay that isn't easily resolved through the rulebook. We'll be able to talk through it. For those of you that are experienced with this game, that'll be fantastic to get your feedback as we go along. For those of you that are not as experienced, then that'll be great for you to learn. So let's just do a little bit of reading to find out a little bit more about the essential idea of the Darkest Night. So the idea essentially is that it's a fully cooperative board game that's set in a kingdom broken under a Necromancer's shadow. That's this guy right over here on the right. Each player is going to take on a role of one of the kingdom's last heroes. As you can see, there's a multitude of different circles here around the Darkest Night logo. Those are all representative, I believe, of all the different heroes or last heroes available. They each have a unique set of special abilities just as they hatch a plan to save the realm. So, in other words, you basically are at the very end of your ropes. The world has basically been almost consumed completely by this Necromancer and his evil, and you're basically the last hope kind of held out on the board essentially, and you're trying to push back the darkness. Things are already looking grim basically, hence the name Darkest Night. So the idea behind the game is, can you save the kingdom from darkness? Do you have the courage, the cunning, and the will to withstand the Necromancer and his forces? You're going to have to strategize, plan, and bring out the best of your abilities to end the Darkest Night. And there you go. So that's kind of the sum up of the game itself. Of course, this video is going to focus on ripping this thing open, looking at the components. I will give you a heads up that I'm not going to be able to name everything correctly, or I may not name everything correctly as I see it, so you give me a little bit of leeway there as we unbox it. It's my first time taking a look inside of it. But when we get to the solo setup and to the rules overview, I will have already covered the rules and already done some plays off camera to ensure that we go through a smooth playthrough. And then, of course, like I said, any nuances in the rules and things like that we'll pick up as we go through the playthrough. So without further ado, let's crack this thing open. But just before we do that, we're going to flip this thing on its back and hope that everything doesn't go all over the place too badly. And then we're going to just take a look at the back and what it looks like, show you a little bit about there's some words in the back or some paragraphs to read. There's also a picture. So I'll show you the sides first. So of course, again, the artwork in the game is really nice. The box is really nice. Of course, it doesn't look as good with the plastic wrap on it, essentially, but we'll get that off in a second. Basically, I'll just flip this over on its back, and I'm going to show you a little bit about the back of the box. So, like most game boxes, you're going to have your title, you're going to have a nice brief description, although in this case they actually put some decent effort into the amount of content here to read, so we'll read that out for you guys. Over here's the contents. Again, if you guys can't see, it's okay, because the contents we're going to see as we rip the box open. There's nothing special there. This says 1 to 5 players at 2 to 3 hours, 14 plus. That's kind of the age ranges that it's penning, so those are the things to keep or be aware of. And then over here, you've got pictures of the board itself. You've got pictures of the card piles, the different player mats for the chosen heroes that you have, in this case 4 out. You've got 3 special abilities per player that essentially are unique to the character. You got your wonderful Necromancer, who's going to be causing us grief the entire time through the playthrough. And then down below here, it shows that we've got 29 unique heroes that essentially come in standee form. You can pick up the Darkest Night miniature pack if you want to flush the whole game out with miniatures. Now, what I don't know is whether we get a miniature for the Necromancer or not. I don't know. It looks like we do, because it looks like a miniature there. So maybe we do, maybe we don't. I'll find that out soon enough. But we're going to crack this thing open and see what's inside. So the very first thing I'll do, just before it, I'm teasing you guys so much. Over here on the top right, we've got a land in a land of darkness, and I'm going to read this out to you guys. So it says, "The kingdom's last heroes gather in the hallowed ground of the monastery. The king's army is broken. the land's overrun, and now the castle has fallen at the hands of a dread necromancer. Soon his power will be great enough to penetrate even this last refuge. In this cooperative strategy game, you are the land's last hope. Travel the kingdom, aid the people, battle the undead, and elude the necromancer while you seek the holy relics with the power to send him to a true death. As you pursue your quest, you will gain new powers and abilities unique to your chosen identity, unique to your chosen identity: zealous crusader, inspirational prince, secretive rogue, enigmatic seer, and more. 29 heroes in total with individual advantages and playstyles, but not a one of you is a match for the mighty necromancer. Not yet. Pick your battles, husband your strength, work together, and perhaps you will live long enough to see a new dawn. Or fail, and your land will be home only to the dead. Alright, all teasing aside, this is the time we're going to actually crack this thing open. So let's go ahead and do so. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this thing over, and we're going to do a quick cut, and we're going to take a look at what's inside. I'm really excited because this game is actually quite decently long. So there's quite a bit, it's actually quite a long game, and I don't mean that in terms of playtime, I mean it in terms of just the box itself. And it's quite thick as well, so there's a lot going on in here. I would have read out the contents on the back of the box, but there's no point because you guys are going to be seeing them in a few seconds anyway. So here we go. Now you guys get a look at the box when the actual plastic wrap is off. So that's awesome. It looks actually quite a bit better when there's no sheen there in the camera, so that looks awesome. Okay, so without further ado, let's take off this thing and find out what's inside. And we'll see how badly I've jostled this thing around. Okay, so we're going to just move this up a little bit so that we get everything in the camera. And there we go. So, Darkest Night. First thing you're going to see when you open it up is you're going to get a Victory Point Games Premier Line catalog. So this is going to be kind of like a breakdown of some of the other things you can get from them, like Dawn of the Zeds, which I've heard is fantastic. Healthy Heart Hospital, I'm not familiar with that one as much. And Twilight of the Gods, I think that might be their newest one, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there's anything in here. Nemo's War, I'm familiar with that. So great solo game. If you haven't picked that up, that's a fantastic one. And a couple others as well. So again, just a typical catalog, similar to Almost Fantasy Flight games. So right off the top here, it looks like my flipping of the box up and down didn't actually do anything because it looks really well packed. So what we've got here off the top is the rules. So this is the Darkest Night rulebook. And I'm just going to go ahead and open it up so you guys can see a little bit more inside. So of course you got your wonderful table of contents here. Quite lengthy actually, there's 34 pages it's saying. But you can see here that even the introduction page has a nice... this is one thing I do like about it. It looks like they set the stage for the game and give it some good character in there and stuff like that. And also the drawings are pretty cool too. So there's a little introduction that you can read when you start up the game, which we will do when we actually start our playthrough and setup videos. Then we're going to get into things like the game equipment. So these are all the different things, kind of similar to the components list basically, but more of a breakdown of the actual equipment within the game, piece by piece. A little bit about the game board itself, which is also very vibrant and stuff like that. And then got standees, how to put them on. I'm sure most of us know that. A breakdown of all the different types of cards, which is very handy for anybody who isn't familiar with the game. So event cards, artifacts, map cards, quest cards, mystery cards, and darkness cards, plus a bunch of blights, item counters, holy relics, trackers, and sparks. So a bunch of different things in there. So this is essentially the setting up the game page, which we're going to go through in our own video. So I'm going to be making a video which shows you how to go through this entire step of getting the game to the table, so we don't have to spend too much time there. Of course, it's going to show you how to do your map subdecks as necessary and stuff like that. And from here on in, really, you're getting into the meat of the game. You're starting to talk about the actual sequence of play, your die rolls, things like that. So we're not going to go into that kind of depth until we start talking about the rules overview and then the playthrough. But this gives you a rough idea of what you're looking at if you're to pick the game up in terms of the font size, the amount of text, the amount of color. From what I can tell here, for the most part, it looks like they got a good breakdown, and it seems it seems easy to distinguish when they're doing examples versus when they're actually teaching you rules. So the rules are obviously in the more in the lighter colors, and the examples are kind of shaded off on the side or for important information, that type of thing. There's also hints here in the rule book that they're throwing at you every once in a while. Those seem to be important to remember as you go along, but that's the basis of it. And there's about 30... I thought there was 34 pages. At least that's what I thought I saw at the beginning. No, it was 24, my mistake. So it is only 24. And then, of course, some art there at the end makes it 26. So really not that bad at all. So I'll be going through this, and we'll be covering that in the rules overview, of course. That's going to be focused mainly for that. The compendium, let's see. This should be interesting. Oh, that's actually, I really like the art on that. That's really cool. It's like an actual book. Kind of looks like a book. Really interesting. I like it. So this one here has a table of contents, of course. It has 16 pages. It's got yourself an introduction. He talks about the heroes in detail, so all the different heroes. It might talk about their special abilities as well, it looks like. So if you're the Acolyte, you can see that, you know, if you want to use Gloat or False Life, Final Rest, it's kind of like your rules reference is kind of what I'm getting from this for the most part for each character, like the Bard. I guess because there's so many different heroes in this one, which is really cool for replayability. That's something that's really cool about this, is that you are going to get a lot of different players to use and stuff like that. So, and again, the art's really good too. I'll give you guys as much of a close-up on that as I can. And again, it's just basically a sum up of all of that. And then once you go through that, you've got your whole... you got at least some set of knowledge on the heroes. That's again going to be picked up in the rules overview video we do. Next up, this looks like it might be a rules reference sheet, kind of like a cheat sheet. Talks about, it's not really a rules reference, it's more of just a reference for blights in general. So you've got all kinds of different blights. I'll give you guys a quicker look at the, or close-up look of the art as well as some of the text here. So corruption, curse, dark fog, evil, presence, decay, that kind of thing. You can see things are sectioned off in different areas. So the top section here is all blights. Down here in the bottom right, looks like it's a totally different section, which doesn't have a label on it, so I'm not sure what it is, but they're all red. These ones are yellow, and so again, I'm not too sure what the differences are, but maybe these are different levels of intensity of the blights, would be my guess. So we'll go that way for now, until we learn more. Items-wise, we've got all these different I'm not even going to try to say that because I'm stumbling over my words. But essentially, we've got artifacts, bottled magic charm, cursed ashes. I think I was almost going to say that was supposed to be poison stone, but nope, that's not what they meant. And other search results. Awesome. So that's pretty cool. And then, of course, the Necromancer's information's right here too. It looks like. So it's got his like health, and I think that's his sneak. Interesting. Okay. Cool. All right. And next up is a whole bunch of tokens. So again, can't speak too much to this stuff, but from what I'm seeing, these match up with the blights. So the blights we were talking about earlier, it even says right here, gives you a count of how many different tile sheets come in the game and things like that. This is 404 apparently. So here's a whole bunch of different ones. Of course, you're going to go ahead and punch them out. So I'll give you a close-up of some of them. So the unholy, that's actually pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The artwork's pretty good too for being printed on the tokens. I'm pretty impressed by that. And then of course it's even got art on the back as well, so that's pretty good. So yeah, like if you're looking at this one here, this individual screaming in terror, the opposite side has just terror. So they do give some focus to the art, and that's good. I like that. I like the themes coming through good, or very well. Here is your standee punchboard sheet. So I don't know, maybe I don't get the Necromancer as a miniature. Maybe that comes in the miniature set because it looks like I have a standee for him. So, and of course, all the different heroes. So there's so many different ones. So I'm just going to kind of slowly scan across them so you can get an idea about the art and kind of how they look. But there's the Necromancer. Here's a couple more individuals that you can play as. Again, they don't have their names. Actually, sorry, they do have their names. We're just really kind of smaller font. So if you can't see it, then I do apologize. And just based on the angle and stuff like that, that might be tough for you guys to see, but at least you guys are able to see some of the art. I'll just tip this up so we can see a little bit more of those ones. And then finally another set of 5 up top. Very cool. So I'll bring this back down. Yeah, so this is looking pretty good. I'm liking the presentation of the game so far. Pretty happy with it. We're only a couple tiles in, so that's scary. We got our proof of purchase right here in the middle. That's exciting, right? That's the best token. So then you've got a bunch of other ones over here. Again, cannot go into detail, but it looks like the coloring of the red here is a different blight level, would be my guess. I'm not too sure. So different levels of blights would be my guess. We got a whole bunch of other tokens here. I do know these are the activation tokens, I believe. Some of these I'm not going to be able to say, or sorry, these may not be activation tokens, but these are the active tokens. But there might be, who knows? There's chests, there's sparks. I know those are sparks. There's some keys there, and some other things. So we will learn more as we go along. Another set of tokens similar to the one before it, actually very similar. There's some additional ones in there. We'll talk more about them when we get to the rules overview and the setup. So we'll move past that. Here we go. So we're looking at the board now. Now I'm really excited with this because I think it's going to look really cool. So I'm going to push this back a bit. I'm also just going to move my token sheets out of the way, and we're going to pull the board out, and we're going to take a quick look. And as you can see, there's the insert. Now that's cool. So I love games that have cards but then have a really well done insert. Already I'm impressed because I don't have to deal with bagging things and throwing them in. So right off the top, huge kudos to those guys for actually doing an insert, because man, does it ever drive me nuts. I'm sure it drives you guys nuts when you get a game, especially with this number of cards. These are some decent stacks of cards, which we'll go over. Like, I don't know if I can open all of them, but there's some decent stacks, and if those were just strewn about in the box, that would be a mess. So we're going to move these back a little bit just for now, as we try to open up the board. Now the board is not matte, like it's big, but it's foldable only once over. So I don't know if both sides are printed on or not. Oh, that's right, I forgot. Okay, so you've got kind of a small version of the board on one half of it. So if you wanted to play the game, and you totally can, essentially you can play Darkest Night on the smaller half. If you only have a small kind of area space, maybe your table's not that big, or you're trying to fit it onto a hotel table, or you're trying to, whatever it is. It might even be a computer desk table where they're not very wide. So this is perfect for that. But if you got yourself a game table and you want to show the whole thing off, then you get your full size board here. So that's really cool. Of course, there's a little bit of glare, so I do apologize for that. And of course, during the playthrough, I'll deal with all of that so that doesn't occur. But as you can see, it's a very, very, very nice and bright board. It has a lot of great art on it. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a closer look at some of the art. So it's really cool. Like, it really does pop. You got the castle up there. Got some kind of runes runes down below. A dark forest that you probably don't want to be in. Now the monastery, from what I understand, is kind of where all the hope is left in the world when you start this game. So essentially everything else is not looking so hot, and you're going to be you're going to be starting at the monastery. So it's going to be really cool when we go through the playthrough to set the stage and get the story and the theme and the feel of it going. So I'm going to put this, actually no, I'll leave it out. And we'll just build the cards and everything else on top of it. Oh, look at that. I have just seen something that made me happy. They actually do include the Necromancer miniature in the game box, so that's awesome. So the one thing I will say is that most miniatures, when they're this tall or they're just attached by their feet, may come a little bit bent at times. This one looks like he's a little bit bent. So this does look scary. So yes, he looks a little terrifying. He is bent a little bit at the ankles. You can see he's kind of angled. But you know what, guys? When you get a miniature like this, it might be, most people panic. Most people will look at that and go, oh my gosh, the thing's broken. How am I ever going to get this back to where it should be? You literally just put this in boiling water. And when you can, once it's boiled and stuff like that, you take it out, not with your bare hands, of course, and then go ahead and you actually can bend it right back into place and then put it into some cold water and it'll set fine. So you don't have to worry about it. I've had that issue before. And really, it comes down to just the fact that the miniatures, where it's actually connecting, which is his ankles on the miniature, they're just really small, so it's basically folding over a little bit. So anyway, at the end of the day, I'm really happy because it's a miniature and I don't have to use a standee for the enemy, and it helps me differentiate where he is on the board versus where the heroes are, so that's cool. Okay, so what else we got here? We got a whole bunch of standees. This is not that exciting. Bunch of plastic standees for all the different heroes in the game and stuff like that. We've got some dice. These are custom dice for the game. They're really cool looking. They fit the theme and stuff like that. They look like they're square, if I'm not mistaken, so I'll take a handful of them out. They could be, oh nice, they're actually engraved. That's pretty cool. So they're nice. I'll give you a nice close-up there of them. And of course, to sound good, they're more square than anything else, but the edges are rounded off. It's very nice. Like it. I like them much better than a D6. Like it drives me nuts when you have a nice thematic game like this and somebody puts in a regular D6. So it's really cool. They went the extra step and put the some nice thematic dice in there. So first up, let's take a look at the heroes. Of course, they're also smart because they even added a bunch of extra bags, which is fantastic. Now, I keep tons myself, but not everybody does. This is really handy because when you start organizing, especially the tokens, you're going to be able to store them in these bags without having to run to your store to pick something up. This bag is obviously going to house all of the different heroes, so let's just do a quick run through of that. There is a lot of cards in this game, so I cannot say that I'm going to be able to get through all the decks because that might be crazy. I might be able to edit it in a way that I can, but I can't promise that that's a lot. We'll probably see most of it during the playthrough. So here we go. We've got the Acolyte here. Make sure we're all out. Yep, so the Acolyte. We've got the Alchemist. We've got a Bard. We've got the Channeler. The Conjurer. The Crusader. Oh, a little bit of... There we go. We got the Druid, the Enchanter. They seem to all be in alphabetical order as well. Exorcist, the Knight, the Mercenary, Mesmer, the Monk, Nymph. It's actually really good art. I like that. Paragon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Priest, the Prince, and there's a ton of these guys. The Ranger, the Rogue, the Scholar, the Scout, the Seer, the Shaman, the Tamer, the Tinker, the Valkyrie, the Wayfarer, the Wind Dancer, the Wizard. Wow, there is a lot there. So I mean, if you're wow, that's insanity. Because I mean, usually you get, I don't know, in a game like this, you typically, hero-wise, unless you're doing a Kickstarter, you typically get like 4 or 8. Like 4 to 8 would be would be a decent, would be an okay range. Well, maybe not 4, but I don't know, 10 would be like the max you'd expect. There's like 20 plus here. This is craziness. So that's really cool. Replayability-wise, that's great. Not only is it going to give you a nice little sum up of what the character is and stuff like that right there on the front, which you can read, but then if you flip it over on the back, it's also going to give you all your hero turn and actions all written out. So I don't know if those are going to be all specific or they're general, because I believe, if I understand correctly, each of the backs of these cards should be the same because they're telling you, they're just a reference of your actions and your hero turns, but the cards you get will give you your special abilities. So we've got some giant cards here. These look like they're tarot-sized cards or tarot-sized cards, so that's insanity. That's a lot of cards. I don't know. I may end up actually sleeving these, which is insane. Probably buy some cheaper sleeves rather than the better ones. But let's crack this open and see what's inside, because this is really cool. And I'm a huge fan of these size cards. I don't know why it is. I just always get excited when I hold these cards because they're massive. I'm probably not going to be able to get through every single one of these. There's a lot, and some of these are sticking together too. But I'll give you an idea of some of the art and stuff like that. So we've got Sloppy Search, Startling News. I can't obviously show you the top and bottom of all the cards, so I'll try to push things to the top here. But Tracker, Unfriendly, Vile Beast, Altars. But it looks like they've done a really good job. Like the art doesn't disconnect from the game board or disconnect from the theme. It looks like it's right on par. Like everything I'm seeing so far looks like it would fit into this world if I was looking at the game board. So that's really cool. And again, it gives me that. It doesn't give me an Arkham Horror vibe, but it gives an Arkham Horror vibe in terms of how cohesive all the art is together. So that's good. That's a good thing that a thematic game should be trying to do. And of course, you've got these here. I'm not 100% sure what these are. It looks like they're map cards. It might be a set. It might be something that randomizes and tells you where certain things are. It's going to be my guess, so that your game is not the same every single time. But you got a bunch of these that basically are just going to set things a different way. Wow, there's a whole bunch. I was actually not expecting that many. So there's a ton. These are considered map cards. And actually, even the backs of the cards are fantastic. Like, that artwork is awesome. Like, really, really cool. So those are the map cards, and then the event cards look like this. So again, like, really well done, like, in terms of the look of stuff. So there's one other, I guess I'll put these ones back in here now that I've done that. I'm going to have to sleeve these later. These ones here, it looks like there's some more event cards. There's probably not just event cards, but who knows. So we'll crack into these and see what's here. There's a lot in this box. like a lot. Like it's in it. That's a lot of cards. Okay, so I'm just gonna be moving through these as we go. So I'm not gonna be necessarily stopping on any of them, but this is just gonna give you an idea. So I'm guessing these are they're considered artifacts, is what they're considered. So cool. So you got a whole bunch of artifacts. Not worth spoiling absolutely everything, but tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of cool items. And wow, they did not hold back on putting a good number in there. That is a lot. That's a decent deck size of artifacts. So that's really cool. So we'll put those in the bottom. Next up, I'm guessing these are spells. No, they're more events. So these are going to probably add to the event deck we already saw, would be my guess. So the event deck, of course, has the most stuff that you have to deal with. Tidings, Haunt, Horde. Some of these cards I don't know if we saw yet or not, but some of them look familiar. Yeah, some of them do look familiar. So I don't know if it's any difference, but cool. Very cool. Okay, so put those in there. Alright, so that's these 3 compartments done. Alright, so these 3 are all done like I just mentioned, and we're going to go into these 5 now. Alright, so we'll start with, let's go far left. And these are deep, by the way. These are not like, that's a serious pile of cards. So these are some deep trays. They're going to have quite a bit. And I'm guessing the majority of these are going to be special abilities that are for each of the heroes. But don't quote me on that because we're going to find out real quick. Now the backs of the cards look like they have art, and they also have titles as to what you're talking about. So in this case, the Exorcist here has a bunch of cards, so that's good. So you can just basically pull all of them out and go. If you're playing the Exorcist, bam, you've got his cards. If you flip them over, for example, you've got a bunch of different things like Banish and Cast Out, all these different things, Condemn, Courageous Boon, all that kind of stuff. So a whole bunch of different special abilities. Now what I don't know is how this is built into your character just yet. I do know that you have 3. Don't know if you start with 3 and always have 3, or if you start with 3 and can upgrade or change as you go, but I will be figuring that out very soon. So that's very cool. Again, you're going to see a lot more of this as we go through, because these decks are just going to basically be all the cards for each individual character. So you're going to get the Enchanter, the Druid, all that kind of stuff. So really these decks are just covering all of your heroes. They all have great art though. Like the backs of the cards are fantastic. Again, they match the game perfectly. Looks like the artist who did it did a really good job. I'm going to try to get that to focus. Like that looks awesome. There's the Alchemist. And again, on the other side, there's not too much to show. But of course, the art changes. So, you know, like some of them, like you can see, the art does change. But there's patterns are the same. So if you're the Bard, you obviously have kind of the, you got, you know, some of the notes showing and things like that. So some of the things are familiar, and it looks like the icon in the middle is kind of changing as it goes along. If you were this one is the Alchemist, of course. You've got your Alchemist pot or bowl that you're basically doing all your work in. So that kind of thing. It's cool. It fits the theme and the character that you've chosen. So you get a whole bunch of those cards. No point in going through all of those because there's a lot. So I'll put those back into the tray along with these. The next one here is the exact same thing. So another one of a massive amount of cards. So I don't think there's going to be too much to show. Again, I have no problem showing you guys the art on the back because I think that's probably the most useful or cool to see. The actual game cards themselves, again, like are going to be specific to each different character that you're playing. So there's a whole bunch, but the art looks great. Again, I've said it a couple times. Oh, look at that, it does stop actually. So right about there, it looks like, oh, I was mistaken. There are darkness cards. Wow, look at the green on that. So on the camera, I know that's like really shining, but that looks really cool. It almost looks neon to me. So yeah, those are really bright. But that's really cool. So the darkness cards really pop. And that's what I was just going through, because I was wondering why there were so many that were similar. But these are going to be cards that are going to be like Gloom, for instance, or the Hall of Mirrors, or something like that. So all these different things are going to come out during the gameplay. And then the rest of the deck isn't all character ability cards. There's something else in here too, mixed in, and it looks like it is mystery. So these are what the keys tokens must be referring to. So again, the card backs are fantastic. I like the look already. And what do we got here? So we got like an ancient riddle, tells you to do an action, roll some dice, you can do modifiers to it. That's really cool. So there's like actual mysteries, I guess, that are going to show up throughout the land that you can basically try to complete. I'm guessing they give you different things. That's really awesome. So I'm not going to go through every single one, plus I don't want to spoil them all because they're mysteries, but that is cool. So, put those back in this pile with the darkness cards. I also got some Alkalite cards, which I'll just drop on top of this deck. Okay, this looks like maybe the one I was thinking was coming next, which is another whole massive stack of hero cards, because I'm assuming there's got to be enough for 20 plus different heroes in here. So 2 of these decks have to be at least full of that. Man, if I choose to sleeve this is gonna make me go broke if I decide to sleeve it with high quality sleeves, which I don't think I will. I'll probably pick up some mid-range stuff. But yep, so tons and tons and tons of player cards, like again per different character. So again, if you're playing with 4 different characters, you're going to be using 4 sets of these. So it's not that much, but essentially if you were using 4 characters, you'd be using, like say you used the Prince, the Priest, Paragon, and and the Nymph or something like that, you'd be looking at using about this many cards, which is actually a decent stack. But you remember, I don't think you're going to be using them all. You're going to pull 3 out of them and run with it, but we'll be seeing that during the rules. So anyway, the art looks really cool. I'm just going to skip through, show you a couple on each one. It's the same guy. Same. There's the Monk. There is the Mesmer. Again, there is the Mercenary. The Knight. I think that's where it ends. Oh, the Exorcist. Oh, okay, so that actually comes right back around. Alright, so those are going to go back in here. Actually, I'm going to move these over for now and put those here. Next up, oh my gosh, more. There's more of them. It's just so many. I guess it goes all the way to the end, so maybe these decks are all just character-based, which is crazy. And I guess it's going to add a lot of replayability, like I said before. Like, the more abilities you have per character, plus the more monsters, and the different artifacts, maps, all that stuff. So really can tell out of the box this thing's going to have a lot of change when you play it over and over again. So we've got the Tinker here. We've got the Tamer, which sounds very similar, but it's not. We've got the Shaman. I like how the colors actually change in the cards too. Seer. The Scout. That works for her. The Scholar. The Rogue. If I can get this to, and the Ranger. I think that's where it ends. Nope, the Prince is last. That must line up with one of the backs of the decks. And again, you've got all your different cards, different symbols for different characters. Just showing you a few at random here, because not all of them are going to matter too much. But very cool. Tons and tons and tons of these things. Like, that's a lot. That is a lot. Awesome. Love it. Okay, last deck. I wonder if this is going to be all hero-related cards or not. Let's see if I can get this out without destroying the cards. Okay. This is what happens always, actually. Whenever you're doing an unboxing and you've got a game that has a lot of cards, like Gloomhaven's a great example. Man, does these unboxings go the extra mile when you start doing them. This is not Gloomhaven, but, I mean, cards-wise, this thing has a lot of cards, if you haven't figured that out yet. Look at the stack. Like, there's 5 of those, plus these tarot cards, plus, like, it's a lot of stuff. Okay, again, a bunch of cards per the different characters. So again, you can always go through this and pause wherever you feel you'd like to check out something. I'm just not going to focus necessarily on something. Oh, there we go. A change. Okay, so we're going to take these. These are all player cards. I'm just going to drop them in here. Actually, I guess I'll show you the front side of them. So essentially, there's the Wizards cards there. There is the Wind Dancers cards, the Wayfarers cards, Valkyries cards, and the last little bit of the Tinkers cards. Okay, so I'll put those in there, and actually technically it's supposed to go like that, but whatever. Put them in there for now. What do we have over here? We have quests. So this is one of the last major decks here. So quest decks, they look like this. Again, great art. Looks fantastic. It fits perfect for that. And I guess it's just going to be a quest that shows up on the map. So Ancient Curses or Angry Guardians, Closed In. So these are things that basically you can go after. Again, I can't speak too much. That looks like Time. This looks like Sparks. I don't know if there's like some Looks like if you complete it, you get different things. But it also looks cool because it looks like when these quests come out, if you don't complete them and they expire, bad things happen. So that's really cool. It'll keep the game progressing and also kind of punish you for not completing them, it looks like, which is really interesting. That'll really throw a wrench in the gameplay, which is really cool. So this is going to end up probably going on top of the mystery cards. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's everything. So those are all 5 of the decks. We've done these. We've done the maps, artifacts, everything else underneath of them. The bags are set. The only other things we have to do is basically just merge all this stuff together, get all the tokens into these bags. But in terms of the unboxing, we have done it. So guys, I really hope you're excited. I'm really pumped. I've been waiting for this to show up in the mail for a while, and it finally arrived here in Canada, so I'm super excited to get this to the table. So look out, this is coming as a showcase. The next video that's going to follow this one is going to be the solo setup. So that video is going to have absolutely no rule talk. It's just going to get the game to the table in the quickest amount of time possible with a little bit of explanation in terms of why and what's going on. And then we'll move into the rules after that and then a playthrough. So if you're as excited as I am to check out Darkest Night from Jeremy Lennert and Victory Point Games, give me a thumbs up, let me know you're excited, and I cannot wait to showcase this one with you guys and go on a journey to fight back against the Necromancer. So until the next time everyone, thanks for watching and keep on rolling solo.